Welcome to the very first Life Atelier Date. I had the idea to do this with the podcast on Thursday night when I was on my yoga mat in my yoga studio in Toulouse. And I suddenly got this moment of clarity of yes, this is what we're going to do. We're going to simplify and really make it as easy for you to start spending time with how you are designing, how you are evaluating, how you are living your life, just in the little moments each day. But by having this appointment, this date with yourself once a week. So, what I'm going to do today is kind of outline how I'm doing my Life Atelier dates. Rita will be joining us. If you're watching this with the video, you'll see. And really just look at this. How do we take these concepts that we're learning about and that we're interested in, and how do we implement them? Okay. And something that came up again and again when I've been talking to our Life Atelier members, I've been talking to people on my Instagram account, in my Instagram community, and what everybody has said is that the thing that's quite magical about the Life Atelier and the way that we work is the implementation. It's the focus on tools. Okay. And this is so important to me. And we can start with a very simple question. This is a question I used with my English students in my years as an English teacher, was just to ask, why am I doing this? And the reason was, I spent 7 years as an English teacher. How long was it? 27 to 34, 33. Okay, enough time, right? And bear in mind, I was overworking. So I think I've taught, I don't know, 700 people. I've done over 10,000 hours of teaching. That's a lot of conversations. That's a lot of seeing the same struggles coming up again and again and again. And what I would see and find really frustrating was that they were doing their best. Okay. They were doing all the things that people told them to do, right? Watching Netflix, but in English, listening to BBC News, but in English. And everybody had this idea that if they could just move to the UK, they would become fluent in English, right? And this is the classic thing. I lived in Spain for years. I did not become fluent in Spanish, right? It's not enough to just do exercises. What we do with coaching is we focus on what is the result that I want. And then is my action step, is the thought that I have going to create that result? So if you're watching, if we use the example of language learning, if you're watching a Netflix episode because you want to learn how to ask questions in a social situation so that you connect with people, and you're just watching Netflix, that's not going to happen. Whereas if you decide beforehand, okay, I want 3 killer questions that I think are going to build rapport and build connection with people, and I'm going to use them and experiment with them. And once I've got those 3 questions, then I'm just going to watch for fun. That's asking yourself, why am I doing this? And then creating an intention. Now, we can apply that same skill, and I do with my coaching, just day to day. So it might be if you're not happy with the amount of time that you're spending on social media, when you go to open Instagram on your phone, you just ask yourself, why am I doing this? Right? And this is the first step of the Life Atelier and the date, having this date with yourself and with your life, is knowing that you are honest with yourself. Because when you're honest with yourself, what will happen is you'll open the app, you'll be about to click on it, and then you ask yourself, okay, why am I doing this? And what might come up is, I'm lonely, I want connection, I'm bored, I'm avoiding. Or sometimes it will be, I want some inspiration, right? And it's really important because it might be that you realize, okay, I'm bored or I'm lonely or I want connection, and I'm going to use this right now to get it. And then I'm going to see how I feel about it. And that's fine. But we want to do it from that place of being honest with yourself, not doing it because oh, I'm in control of my time and, I'm just doing this because I feel like it. There's no other reason behind it. There's always a behavior driving something underneath it. So the more we can get honest with ourselves, the more we can check in with that. So let's come back to what is your Life Atelier? And if you're watching this, you'll see my amazing preparation for our podcast on here. Okay, so Life Atelier is essentially, it's making some space having a dedicated place, whether it's just in your mind, whether it's a time in your calendar, whether it's a physical location where, for me, it used to be going for a walk with Rita in the forest, and I would start to think about, what's going on with my life. And usually it was like, it's falling apart. I'm holding it together. And then, okay, what's the next little step that I can take so that it feels more like I'm in control? Okay. And that might just be, I'm just going to sit and I'm going to breathe for a couple of seconds. I'm just going to sit and I'm going to breathe. And then I'll look at, okay, what's the next little step after that? Okay. And then the next step, right? Or it might be at a point, some of my clients take themselves for lunch once a week and they go and have a glass of champagne. And that's their date with themselves, right? And their life. And it gets really exciting. So there will be different things that you want at different points. So that's the first thing, is just to think about, okay, if I'm building my own life atelier, if I'm creating space to connect with mastering my life, working on my life, and it is literally like I'm creating this sort of studio of this place to go to in my head, what do I want that to look like, right? And this is really important because we are designed to pretty much run on autopilot unless there is some big drama or some big emergency or, potential death or, potential massive opportunity that is worth pushing that extra energy for. Okay. And so, because of the systems that we grow up inside, very often we're taking decisions based on what our socialization is. Okay. And that might look like, go to university, after university, get a job, after the job, find a partner, buy a house, have some babies, stay with that partner for the rest of your life. Don't have a very good sex life, but don't complain about it because, you've got your health. Don't have great health, but, don't complain about it because of your age. Don't tell anyone you're not happy. Don't do anything risky. And that will look very different then, depending on the other cultures that are mingling with the big culture that you're in. So religious conditioning, shame from religion. Oh my God, there's so much shame from religion. Okay. Not saying there aren't good things. I like cathedrals, they're very pretty, but we can do without the shame. We don't need to keep that shame. Okay. Might be that in your culture, starting a business is seen as like very, very risky and very, very dangerous, and everybody goes to work for the government or, whatever. Just knowing those things are there and they are influencing, very likely, what it is we think we want. It might be if you're in relationship. For me, I was in relationships from the age of, I think, 14, from 14 to 35. I was single for 18 months. Okay. And then at 35, I became single and I had 2 years to work out, who am I? What do I like doing when I'm not considering what somebody else wants, when I'm not considering what somebody else needs, when I'm not compromising or thinking that we need to do this? And it was fascinating. And I realized a lot of the things were still very much what I did when I was younger. I was very creative when I was younger. I liked adventures. I liked, all these things, right? So many of us don't necessarily have that time and that space to have that self-exploration, to start to do, again, it was easier for me because I'm in another country, right? And I have to say, it is much easier to escape social pressures from your culture when you're living in another country. So what we're doing with the Life Atelier is we're building those conditions so that you can start to reflect, you can start to investigate in a way that feels good and expansive. Maybe it's for a couple of minutes. Maybe it's literally just you close your eyes and you just imagine, what would it be like to, and then add the thing, right? And just to visit these things in your head so that you can just see how it feels before you decide if you want to experiment, if you want to start to play with them and create them. Okay. So what have I put here? And I'll start a kit. Yeah, why it's important. Listen, it is important because the more we are living in accordance with our values and we've checked in with what our values are, the more that we are removing mental clutter and the energy that goes from suppressing those things. Okay. And this is, if you want the psychology behind it, it's about authenticity and attachment. I will put, as always, there's a link to a Gabor Mate video that explains this. But essentially, right now, a lot of our energy is going on these micro things that we're using a lot of energy to suppress, right? Don't be rude, don't swear in public, don't wear the wrong clothes in this situation, don't let people know what you really think, don't. Okay. And then there's all this energy, right? being used in this way. And so there are these bigger problems, okay, that we are facing as a global community: climate change, inequality, systemic discrimination, systemic just awful violence against animals. There are all of these things, health crises, all of these things are so big, and we feel like we can't do anything about them. We feel like we can't even look at them because we're too tired, or we don't feel that we have power, or we don't have control. And that's because our energy is going on this and suppressing this. So Johan Hari talks about this. It's kind of the trick at the end of his book, Stolen Focus, which is our book club topic in the Life Atelier this week. So if you're in the Life Atelier, I'm going to put together some resources for you. So don't worry about reading the book if you haven't read the book already. I'm going to put together like the main points and some podcast interviews. So you'll still be able to talk about it, still be able to benefit from it. But this is what he talks about. He talks about these 4 types of focus, okay? And it's, the things that are directly in front of us. They are our bigger goals, the things that make us happy. There's a third one. And then there is this like stadium focus of things that affect us as a global community. And we want to be able to hold all of these focuses so that we can feel fulfilled, so that we can experience life where we are right now, so that we can feel control over how we're experiencing life. And we can also start to connect, and we can create this happiness, create this joy, create this very, very useful hope that will help us start to focus on these bigger things. So that's why we want to do it, right? But you don't need to do it because of these big things. You can just do it because you want to be happier, because you want to feel more connection, because you want to feel stronger in your body, because you want to, you can do it for whatever reason. It doesn't matter. The result will be the same. It's good for everybody when we start listening to ourselves. Okay. So how we do it. First step, as I mentioned, get honest, right? And this may be harder than it sounds, because often we are lying to ourselves. We tell ourselves that we're happy with what we have, and it's because we don't think we can have something else, okay? And I want you to know there is no shame in that. It is completely normal, okay? The reason it's completely normal is the way that our brain is designed. Our brain is designed to conserve energy, and it conserves energy by avoiding risk, okay? Remember that doing something new or doing something that is seen as different or risky would have traditionally potentially got you kicked out of your social group, of your tribe back in the day. And also your brain wanted to conserve that energy in case you needed to sprint because there was a predator or an attacker. So that is the programming that we are living with, and it's running in our brain until we intentionally decide to upgrade, to update the programming, right? With destination, happiness and joy and connection and solve problems, right? So getting honest, I would say we want to connect with what does it feel like, right? And there's a really nice exercise that I did in, I think it's the Pathway, which was actually about nervous system resilience. But you can do it to just notice, like, what does it feel like when you're being honest with yourself, right? So what you do is just put your hand on your heart. And if you're in a place where you can close your eyes, you can close your eyes. And just take a deep breath. And if you can't do that, and if you've listened to this podcast for a while, or you're in the Life Atelier, sometimes you'll hear me tell people to take a deep breath, and I'm like that. And I can't do it because I'm too wound up. However, I was at yoga on Thursday night, and my yoga teacher said, "Your lungs are on your back. Breathe." And she helped me to find like a new place to breathe from. So today I can take a deep breath. I've been doing breath work. It's working. It's paying off. Okay, so take a deep breath and just notice that. Like if you can't take a deep breath, it feels shallow, your body feels tight, just notice it. Okay, because that tells us that maybe your body doesn't want to be honest, right? Maybe it's already feeling stressed out, and it's like, be honest. What happens if we're honest? Oh my God, if we're honest, everything's going to change. Okay, so just notice that, and that's okay. And then what you can do is you can think about something that you know to be true. So I think the example they give in the exercise is like someone that you love or something that you love. So I, of course, think about my dog Rita, and I have the thought, I love my dog Rita. And it's true. It's absolutely true. I love her with all of her craziness, all of the impact she has on my life. And so when I think about that of I love my dog Rita, And for you, it might be your children, your family, your home. You might really love your car. Your car represents freedom, whatever. Just notice, how does it feel? And we want to know that because that's how we're going to check in later. And now we can check in with, how does it feel when we are not honest about it? So if I say, I hate my dog Rita, I immediately get this feeling of like nausea in my throat. And that's my body saying, that's a lie. That's not true. Okay. So we just want to recognize, like, where are we having these feelings in our body? It's great if you can do skin to skin contact, because it just helps you get everything linking up a little bit more. Okay. But again, this is a practice. So if you do this the first time and you just freeze, that's absolutely fine. Okay. Don't worry about that. This is just something where it's a skill that we're learning and we're connecting together bits of our brain and body that we may not have noticed were interacting in the past. So we're just starting to do that. So that's the first step. We want to be honest with ourselves. Now, when we're building our life atelier, we want to have a focus, right? If you're, imagine an artist's studio, you're going to the studio to work on sculpture, or you're going to do it to practice your charcoal, or you're going to do, whatever it is, calligraphy. There is an objective for being in there. So what I like to do is ask myself, what do I want? And then listen to that answer. Are you getting an honest answer? Right? And this, again, it's a practice. You can practice this during the day. You can practice it, like, open the fridge. What do I want? Right? And the more you do this, what happens to me very often is I realized that when I wanted caffeine, I wanted a treat, right? But actually, having decaf coffee in the mornings, I actually got to the point the other day where I was like, I actually don't want caffeine because I have been feeling really good not having caffeine. What I want is to feel good more than I want a treat. And the treat is this sustained feeling good 24 hours a day versus my little 10-minute buzz and then not feeling good later. Okay, so it's a practice. And now what you want to do, now that you've said what you want, you've done this honesty check-in, identify the belief gap. So between you having and creating this thing and where you are right now, how big is that belief gap? And one of the tools that we use inside the Life Atelier is about using 1% belief. So even if you think it's possible by like 0.3%, that's enough for us to get moving, right? 0.3% is a possibility, 0.1%. And I know I talk about this all the time. I will keep talking about it. But when Rita was so sick, and there was one point last year where I was in New York and I was calling and talking to the hospital, my ex-boyfriend and his new partner were having to like be me at the hospital. And they were on the phone and they said, like, listen, even if this happens, this will be a miracle. And then this happens, this will be a miracle. Even if we get these two miracles, there's still only like a 0.1% chance that she will get healthy. And I was like, right, so we need 3 miracles. Let's go. Okay. I had that 0.1% belief that we could get the 3 miracles, and we got them. Okay. She's the miracle dog. So knowing that there is that possibility of the miracle happening and then starting to take the action steps, you start to close that belief gap. Okay. And then the third, doing a little analysis, right? So these are our sort of levers that we have day to day. And there are exercises for you inside the Life Atelier. There is, I'll give you the daily rituals from Monday to Friday to have a little peek at. Okay. But essentially what we're asking ourselves are, how is our relationship to taking decisions? Are you taking decisions as your future self? Are you taking decisions as the person that believes this is possible? Or are you taking decisions as your past self who didn't have the skills that you have now? Our relationship to fear and failure. So are you seeing the fear as a reason to stop? Is it slowing you down? Are you seeing failure as data or danger? Okay. And finally, how are you taking action? How are you communicating with yourself? When the failures happen, how are you caring for yourself? That vulnerability hangover of taking a risk. Are you letting yourself take a nap in the afternoon? Are you increasing your social time? Right? For me this week, I've really been sharing about the Life Atelier with a lot of people. Okay. And I will tell you my journey during the day is in the morning, I'm unstoppable. This is amazing. I'm so excited to share it with everybody. I share it with people. And then by the afternoon, I feel like, oh, I'm tired. Oh, I'm tired. Oh, maybe I'm doing too much. Okay. And then what happens is I have a little nap. I take the dog for a walk and then I do something social. I see my friends or I go to yoga. I reconnect with my body or I reconnect with my friendships, right? So knowing that you're getting that balance in of how you care for yourself and including the social aspect in that, right? Social connection is another part of self-care. Okay. So those are your 3 steps to building your life atelier. And then we have the daily rituals that help you to practice those skills and to work through them as we go in. Um, I'm going to share with you quickly, actually, just while we're on here, of the last week. So what I decided to do was, rather than sending multiple emails during the week, I decided to really think about this quality over quantity and how I would do this like weekly Life Atelier date with you. Right now, the plan is to do it so it goes out on a Sunday morning, but obviously we'll see how it evolves. And to just share with you like the journal of what was happening in the week before. So where I started, although I might need to pause this because somebody's doing something with the swimming pool and my dog might stop barking. But so the week, Monday was my atelier date with myself and setting my one intention. So my one intention was to bring in 14 new members to the Life Atelier and to clear anything that was a distraction from that, right? So we're on 2 new members and today is Saturday. So that 1% belief that I can bring 12 more humans in to support them, that is, I'm telling you, I am practicing this, right? So next week I'll let you know what happens. And I also looked at how I would balance this. So it's that clearing space for it. So the clearing space looked like I handed in my notice and I said that I was going to stop coaching in another program that I've been coaching in, which felt like a very big thing. But I knew that I just needed to clear space, clear space, clear space, clear space for my one focus, my one intention, and then trust. Tuesday, I took the decision as my future self to go back to yoga. So I haven't been to the yoga studio for about a month, maybe longer, since Rita got attacked. After Rita got attacked by the dog, a lot of the kind of rituals that I put into place that were working really well for me, they went on the back burner, and then it got harder and harder. But I decided on Tuesday night, I thought about it. I thought, okay, the version of me that has built the business and had the impact that I want, what does she do? She goes to yoga. She does not compromise. So I got my monthly pass back and I scheduled the next 6 weeks of yoga classes 3 times a week. And it was amazing. Wednesday, I had my Girl Gone International coffee and a walk date after yoga. So I went to yoga at 7:15 in the morning, and then I met the girls that are part of GGI Toulouse, which is something that I've set up. And again, it's something that I did to prioritize making friendships. Okay. Was I out of my comfort zone setting this up? A little bit, yeah. Did I decide to grow my comfort zone? Yes. Okay. So that social connection is really important. My primal brain was telling me, don't do this. Stay at home today. You want to get 14 new members in the group. You must be at home. You must be completing and connecting and emailing people. And I thought, no, the social connection, this is it. And it was brilliant. And it energized me. It calmed me. I have a possible collaboration with one of our members where we're going to do some coaching workshops together in a couple of places in Toulouse. So worth it, right? So the lesson for you there is like, if your brain is telling you to deprioritize something that is social, it's good for you, it's for your well-being, let's just ask why. And let's ask, what will the impact be? So if you deprioritize that social time or that exercise or that eating well or that sleeping well, what will be the impact in a few hours, in a few days, in a few weeks? And that will usually help you see, okay, wait, let's put the priority back at the top. Thursday, went to the yoga studio in the evening and had the idea to do this. And again, had another invitation for a collaboration with my yoga teacher. So I have now got a goal to get my French level to the place where I can facilitate coaching workshops by September. That is what she's told me. get your French up by September and we'll start to collaborate. So I got a new goal. Friday, we did the first Fluid English studio session, and I was able to share how we apply the Life Atelier tools to language learning with our members. It was brilliant. It was amazing. And I'd say the main lesson from that, we were looking at how to go from having a love-hate relationship with your goals to a love-love relationship. And it's a really simple question. It's as simple as the question of asking, why am I doing this? Is what is the relationship right now? And how do I want the relationship to be? Do I want more trust? Do I want more collaboration? Do I want more playfulness? Okay. And then looking at the steps to do that. And then today. So today I'm going to throw this one in. So I had a Girl Gone International meeting this morning, and the founder of Girl Gone International was taking our meeting. There's about 20 of us on the meeting, a woman called Anne Scott, amazing. And I have been struggling with how to grow our platform and our community with keeping that intimacy and that one-to-one connection, which has been how I've built the rest of my business. And it's how, for me, it's one of my values. It's very important that every single one of the people that I work with, the people in my community, they feel supported by me and they feel my energy and they feel that they can get motivated and they can get more energy from being in my energy. And I was thinking, how am I going to do this? And today I met Anne, and how she has gone in 14 years from setting up the very first meeting, her and a couple of other women in Hamburg, to having they impact 20 million people around the world. And yet this morning, this woman that has impacted 20 million people was there just like another human being. She's from Glasgow, she lives in Mallorca. A lot of similarities with my own story. She could be someone that I was having a pint with. I mean, I don't really drink pints, but like glass of rosé with in the pub, and finding out that we have similar friends from university or from home. And that piece is what I would call the oh moment, right? If she can do it, I can do it. Okay. And so suddenly I got all these ideas of, oh, this is how we can create connection. Oh, we can do this. We can do this kind of event. Blim, 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 blim. So that lesson for you there is, if that belief gap, when you were looking at what you want and where the belief gap is, if that was very, very big, one of the steps can be to start looking for someone that has got elements of what it is that you want to create, but making sure you get that little ping. And I have talked about it before. In fact, that ping, if you've listened to the expanded podcast, they call it pings and they call it expansion. But for me, it's also about just recognizing that someone has something similar to you. And when I've talked about it on this podcast before, it's been about my coach, Vicky, and hearing a life coach with a Manchester accent. And the moment I heard her talking about these concepts that I'd heard loads of coaches talking about before, but I hadn't implemented them, the moment I heard a Manchester accent, it felt like, oh, right, I can do this. Somebody from close to where I grew up, from where I lived, from where I have family has done this. I can do this too. Okay. That's option A. Option B is you decide to be a pioneer and you decide, I'm going to be the first. I'm going to be the model for other people. I'm going to work this out. So that's also a possibility. And you can use a bit of both. Okay. So, lovely humans, I hope this was useful for you. I guess I'll put together a Notion document for you to go through these little points. And if you're ready to join us in the Life Atelier to become a member, I will put a discount code for you. I think I've got a good discount that I'm going to put. And I'm also going to put a link to schedule a one-to-one call. So if you're curious about the Life Atelier, you have questions, you can schedule that call with me. Tell me what your goals are, tell you where you are, tell me where you are, and I will. Ooh, and if you're listening to this for the first time, I'm Emma Lavelle. I created the Life Atelier, and this is Rita. She's our co-host. And for the rest of you, exciting things coming. See you next Sunday.